What if the most powerful tool for change wasn't in your brain at all? What if the secret was to lie to yourself on purpose? That might sound risky or even wrong, but stay with me. The brain is just hardware. Your mind is the field projecting what you see as real. I'm using a metaphysical frame, but you'll notice the psychology behind it as we go. When you repeat a chosen lie with conviction, it becomes belief. That belief hardens into identity, and then the world reshapes. So the real question is this: what strategic lie could you plant today to unlock the life you crave? Stay open to these messages and try this. Pick one small identity you'd be curious to step into. Hold it quietly in your mind and save that thought. Because in this journey, you'll see why identity matters, how one daily practice can anchor it, and how to notice the signs that it's already working. And once you start to look, you'll see how often you've been caught in the old pattern without even realizing it. There's a hidden pattern that keeps people from ever stepping into who they want to become. It's called the trap of have, do, be. And almost without noticing, you've probably fallen into it. It sounds like this: once I have money, I'll start the business. Once I have the partner, I'll feel worthy of love. Once I have the perfect body, I'll finally see myself as fit. On the surface, this seems rational. But notice how it always places identity on hold, as if the universe owes you proof before you're allowed to claim who you are. Stop. Don't wait. Because that sequence quietly trains you to delay life itself. You tie yourself to conditions outside your control, waiting for opportunities, waiting for approval, waiting for milestones, before giving yourself permission to be. It creates a conditional form of self-worth. You are only enough if the outside world says so. But here's the catch. External conditions almost never line up the way you expect. Something is always missing. Something else can always be better. So while you're waiting to have, years roll by, and the version of you that you keep imagining never arrives. It's like waiting for water to boil before you even bother turning on the stove. The order itself ensures nothing heats up. That's why the dream always feels just out of reach. Every time you think you're closer, the line shifts again. You tell yourself, not yet, just another step, just a little more. And that little more has no finish. It stretches forward without end, keeping you in motion, but never in arrival. This constant deferral drains your energy. Even when you act, your actions feel thin, because deep down you're still carrying the identity of being not there yet. You may complete tasks, but you don't feel complete. You may reach goals, but the satisfaction fades because you haven't owned the identity underneath. And when the mirror is always the outside world, your worth becomes fragile. It rests on nods of approval, the glance of recognition, the praise of others. If people notice you, you shine for a second. If they don't, you sink. That leash pulls your emotions back and forth, making your happiness a hostage to moods and circumstances you can't control. Here's where the trap deepens. Your mind begins to filter reality to confirm the waiting pattern. Psychologists call this confirmation bias. In practice, it looks like this. You minimize progress, dismiss compliments, and selectively notice only what proves you're still not ready. Each time, the cycle reinforces itself until it becomes the normal way you see yourself and the world. But the truth is clear. You don't struggle because you're weak or lazy or missing some hidden piece. You struggle because you were set up with the wrong sequence. You were told to start with have when the order was backward from the beginning. It's like trying to strike a flame without ever lighting the match. So what happens when you flip the sequence upside down? When you stop waiting for proof and dare to start with identity itself? That's where the lock finally opens, and there's a simple inversion that ends this trap, one that doesn't require you to do more, but to begin from a different place entirely. That shift is subtle, but it changes everything, and it sets the stage for a breakthrough idea, an idea most people were warned to avoid. That turns out to be the doorway to transformation itself. Lying to yourself may seem reckless, but it holds the key to change. Not lies meant to deceive others, but chosen statements you quietly repeat to yourself, bridges between who you are now and who you decide to be. At first, it feels odd, even false, because you were taught that lies only separate you from truth. Yet in this case, the chosen lie isn't a wall, it's the first board across the gap. Without it, you stay on one side, staring across. With it, you step onto a path. Here's the paradox. If you cling only to the old truth, who you've been, what you've done, the visible evidence, you lock yourself into the same patterns. You call it honesty, but that honesty stops growth. You fear a chosen lie makes you fake, but staying trapped in current proof keeps you stuck. What you name as real becomes a cage. Your brain's wiring helps explain why. At the base of your brainstem sits the reticular activating system, or RAS, a bundle of nerves that filters the blood of incoming data. Its job is to decide which information reaches your awareness, and it's trained by the priorities you carry. That's why when you buy a certain model of car, you suddenly see it everywhere. The world didn't change overnight, your filter did. The same system locks you into a timid identity if you keep affirming, "I'm shy." You only notice the missed chances, not the moments you connected. But shift the input by choosing a new self-image, and your brain literally begins scanning for different evidence. Psychologists have observed this in action. In a famous study, teachers were told that certain students were about to become academic bloomers. The students weren't actually different from their classmates, but over time their IQ scores rose significantly. Why? The teachers, believing in their potential, spoke, behaved, and encouraged them differently, and those students responded in kind. This Pygmalion effect shows how expectation bends reality. What others assume about you changes how they treat you, and what you assume about yourself changes how you act, what you notice, and ultimately, which outcomes you create. Think of your chosen lie as a seed pressed into dry ground. At first glance, nothing shifts. The surface looks barren. But underground, something quietly begins. Roots spreading, structure forming, life organizing. At first, it seems like only words, but with repetition, the roots take hold. This is also where energy of belief comes in. Pair your chosen identity with feeling, and the system kicks harder. Your mind starts to highlight anything that affirms it, small wins, timely connections, gestures of recognition you used to overlook. What looked like chance now feels like synchronicity, a sign that the universe is echoing back your new stance. Some people use quantum physics as a metaphor here, the observer effect, where attention seems to influence outcomes at a subatomic level. Whether or not you accept that literally, the point is clear. Attention changes experience. The stronger evidence lies in how your RAS filters your awareness and how expectations alter behavior. You don't need science fiction to prove it. The psychology alone is enough. Declare, act, notice, repeat. But don't leave this as theory. Test it. For the next 48 hours, try a 2-day experiment. Choose one new identity. Not the whole life overhaul, just one quality you want to become. Tell yourself, I am this, even if it still feels like a stretch. For 2 days, write down 3 small things that reflect it. A passing compliment, a new idea, a conversation that nudges you forward. These are micro-proofs. They are evidence that the seed is already alive. Over time, the so-called lie no longer feels false. Speak it, and it becomes belief. Hold it, and it drives action. Act from it, and the evidence gathers. Slowly, what was once imagined becomes undeniable through your own lived reality. The soil accepts the seed, and the seed rises until others see what you once only whispered. So notice this truth. What begins as false when spoken becomes real when lived. The bridge is built one step at a time, and every step carries weight. From this point forward, the only question is whether you are willing to walk as if the identity were already yours, because that shift changes everything. Now comes the central shift. Identity first. The be, do, have model. Instead of waiting for proof or conditions to align, you begin by choosing who you are. From that choice, actions flow naturally, and those actions eventually bring you the results that echo the identity you already live from. Imagine waking up and deciding to think, speak, and move as though the future self you admire is already there. No delays, no bargaining for outside evidence, just the clear choice that precedes doing, and doing precedes having. This is the reversal that breaks the old cycle. From here, the order is simple. Choose the identity. Act from that identity. Let the results follow. If you decide to be the creator, your creative acts flow without forcing. If you decide to live as love, your choices express themselves without inner debate. An identity chosen at the root makes action feel aligned rather than strained. Of course, resistance shows up quickly. A voice in your mind asks, "Isn't this fake? Isn't this pretending?" That hesitation is only the echo of the past self wanting to stay in place. Every old identity resists its own leaving. But notice, you cannot move into a new story by continuing to rehearse the old one. Think of it like a video game. You don't wait for skills and levels to show up first. You pick your character. You step in with the armor, and only then does the next level unlock. Identity works the same way. Results appear once you claim the role, not before. That's the playful but exact truth of how this shift works. At this point, try asking yourself a diagnostic question. What would the version of me who already has this do today? Pause for a moment and actually answer it, out loud if you can. This simple question rewires your focus. It pulls your decision-making into line with the self you want to become, not the one you've been repeating. When you live from the older self, every step feels heavy, forced, calculated. But when you live from the chosen self, actions feel lighter and more natural because they arise from the identity itself. An entrepreneur doesn't wake up and wonder if she should think like one. Her decisions come as an extension of being. That's the power of alignment. Effort transforms into expression. Picture it like a thermostat in a house. Set it at a low point, and the entire system regulates to keep the room there. Lift the setting, and the whole space reorganizes to stay at that higher level. Your identity is that setting. Adjust it, and your habits, choices, and surroundings begin to reflect the new temperature. Here's where I'd love for you to engage. Take a moment and share in the comments. What identity are you choosing to raise your thermostat to? Naming it gives your mind a reference point, a marker of where you're directing your energy. And when you carry this higher setting into the world, you'll notice something else. Environments, people, even random opportunities begin to reflect you differently. Others sense consistency between your words and your presence, and they respond in kind. The shift causes a feedback loop. Being shapes doing, doing shapes having, and having confirms being. This cycle doesn't ask for permission. It doesn't need extra proof. The very act of living from identity first is permission. That's the essence of the be, do, have shift. You stop reacting to circumstances and instead generate them. The next step is placing this principle into your everyday routine, because knowing the model is one thing, but weaving it into daily practice is where it takes hold and becomes real. That is where the transformation begins to anchor. Daily practice is where the shift becomes real. Knowing the idea is one thing, but giving it form in your everyday life is what allows the new identity to settle in. This is where the strategic lie turns into a living habit, and it comes down to 3 simple moves you can return to every single day. Declare it, act as it, and record the proof. Step 1. Declare it. Speak your chosen identity out loud. Say, I am, and complete that sentence with the self you have chosen. Write it in your journal. Place it on a sticky note where you'll see it often, on your mirror, your phone lock screen, or your desk. The goal is repetition. Repetition creates weight. Over time, those words stop sounding like a wish and begin sounding like memory. Step 2. Act as it. Do one small behavior that aligns with your declared identity today. Not a whole transformation, just one act. If you've chosen the identity of a writer, then write a short page. If you're claiming confidence, then hold eye contact in a conversation you would usually shrink from. One aligned move each day signals to your nervous system, this is who I am already. Step 3. Record the proof. This is how you build the case. Each day, journal with a simple prompt. Today I noticed, this felt like, one small act I took as that person was. These 3 lines are enough to ground the experience and give structure to the new identity. Keep a running note on your phone labeled Proofs and add 1 line each time something aligns. Picking up the evidence turns doubt into something you can see on a page. But here's the catch. The old identity pushes back. Friends, habits, even the walls of your home will echo the past you. It's confirmation bias in action. Your brain tries to confirm what it has known, so expect resistance. Think of it as the rocket's first stage of launch. It uses the most fuel to escape gravity, but once in orbit, momentum carries it forward. Remind yourself that pushback is not failure. It's a sign that you're leaving the old orbit behind. Social friction is real here. Some people will keep trying to pull you back into the role they're used to. In those moments, protect your space. Temporarily share less about your new identity with those who don't believe in it. Spend more time near people who see your future self as normal. Proximity is power. Protect your practice by choosing who gets to reflect you back. Your environment also plays a quiet but constant role. You don't need to overhaul everything, just make a few intentional shifts. Clear one surface of your home or workspace and dedicate it to your new self. Upgrade one or two pieces of clothing so that when you look in the mirror, you see a reminder of the person you are becoming. The messages around you whisper all day long. Let them whisper who you are choosing now. Then, catch the micro-proofs. These are the signs that the practice is working. A compliment from someone you didn't expect. A new idea rising with ease. A coincidence that seems to match your choice. On their own, they look small, but written down day after day, they stack into undeniable evidence. This is how what once felt like pretending transforms into a reality so consistent that you stop questioning it. Rituals make the state stick. Music, movement, affirmations, these aren't magic words. They're cues to your body and mind. Find the song that triggers the energy of your future self. Practice a posture that signals authority or calm. Repeat a phrase until it feels like instruction, not suggestion. With repetition, the body obeys, and once the body obeys, thought and action fall in line. Keep doing it. Keep recording. Keep proving. What begins as a fragile declaration strengthens into a rhythm. Doubt dissolves, and action, belief, and identity align. The lie shifts into truth because you practice it long enough for reality to echo it back. And once you see that echo, you'll understand this. The lie isn't deception. It's a temporary support you walk on while your future becomes solid ground. Think of this entire path as a bridge you're building step by step. At first, it looks light, made only of words and practice. But over time, it hardens into belief and experience. What began as a lie grows into conviction, then identity. That is the map of change. So carry the 3 moves. Choose the identity. Be. Act from it each day. Do. Collect the micro-proofs until belief becomes real. Have. Speak it aloud. I am this now. Comment the I am line you're starting with today. Notice how responses begin to appear. Breathe. Decide.